Just drop that ass, bitch. It's open micers in the house. Pop that pussy with that open micers logo in your mouth. Jason with his bald ass head. Jacob looking in red. It's open micers, bitch. Heard what I said. Drop that ass, open micers in the house. Drop that ass, pop that pussy, open micers in the house. Open micers in the house, open micers is a mouse. Drop that ass, pop that pussy, open micers in the house. The mic is now open.
That's right. The mic is now open. My name is Jason Robbins.
I'm Jacob Craig, and man, it feels like we haven't had a guest in a long time. It's been at least 3 weeks since we've had a guest. But man, I'm glad that we got this guy on for November because people's comedy journeys usually don't start this way. I mean, the first time he does comedy, it's on the biggest podcast in the world. We've seen that before, okay? But he's such a goddamn natural at it that his set goes completely viral. He gets invited back on Kill Tony to do another minute without having to go in the bucket. I mean, it's really completely unprecedented. It could be the one and the only Justin Headrick. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Yeah, like everyone's seen your first time doing stand-up because you went on Kill Tony, your minute fucking wrecked. I've seen, you have all these like offshoot clip channels that like are not even affiliated with Kill Tony, getting like millions of views, just posting your set.
Yeah.
Kind of fucking insane, dude. Like, did you expect that to happen like basically overnight?
No, I didn't expect it at all, to be honest with you. I especially since I changed my jokes the day before. So I was going to do a whole different minute and it would have went terrible probably compared to what happened. So like the last joke I did, the joke about shaking hands with black guys.
Yeah.
And that one I wrote on the way to Austin. And it killed on Kill Tony and I was shocked. Like I didn't even know I was going to do it because I kind of blacked out for that experience. I don't know if anybody's ever dealt with anything like that, but they called my old lady's name, and as soon as she got up from the table and walked away, I went into blackout zone. Like I knew what was going to happen. And I have stage fright, terrible stage fright. So when they got me up there, I just panicked and went into comedy, like, and just did it. Like I had no idea what happened.
So were you kind of glad that you have a complete accordance, whatever you want to call it. We're from Mississippi, by the way. I'm not good at fucking big words, but
big words.
Yeah, you have video of your set, so like, were you kind of glad that you could like watch it back and be like, oh shit,
Absolutely.
like this is how it went?
Because as soon as I got off stage, I couldn't even recount what happened. Like I couldn't even make sense of it.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, that night, so we had chose to do some mushrooms while we were in Austin. And so we were going to do them at the hotel after the show. And we still went to go do them after the show. But I was in such a state of shock as to how everything went. I didn't get high on I ate 5 grams of mushrooms and felt nothing but like a weird feeling that I didn't belong. Because it was just so strange to have all those big time comedians compliment me and it was just weird. It was, I didn't know if they were fucking with me is how it felt. So I felt like I was being fucked with.
So you've never done comedy before that ever?
No, I've never been on stage. Like maybe 8th grade or something like that. I may have done a play, but so I'd never even went to see stand-up comedy live until 2020. It was during the pandemic, and we went and saw TJ Miller in Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. And I've always watched comedy, but I've never gone to see comedy live. And when we went and I saw the openers, the opener was talking about his job at FedEx. And it just clicked in my head like regular people do this. Like, this is the only ones if you don't go and do all that, the only ones you know of are the famous ones. I'm not a famous person, so I never even thought to go that path until I saw that guy do his set, and I was like, I can do that. it took me a couple of years to get up the courage, and then I found Kill Tony about 2022,
So
and I was like, well, this is the way.
you have horrible stage fright. You've never done it before.
Horrible.
What possessed you to do Kill Tony as your first comedy thing ever? Like, that's just, I can't even, like, that's like getting on a rocket ship and never having done any sort of like NASA spaceman training. You're just jumping in.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like I could do that. And that's my problem is my lady gets mad at me because I really believe I can land a plane. I can do the American Ninja Warrior. If I really wanted to, I could go do it. And so when I made the comment to her and her sister and my brother-in-law that night, I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get on stage. I'm going to do comedy. They laughed at me because I'm not, they know how awkward I get or anxious or whatever. And I just hardcore focused on making it happen. So I kept going to Kill Tony, and I kept trying to write jokes, but I didn't want to do it at just an open mic. Because if I go and fail at an open mic, I probably just would have quit. Like,
yeah, but what would have happened if you would have failed on Kill Tony? Like, that would have been even worse.
Fuck it. There's lots of people that go on there and fail,
True.
And there's people that have been doing comedy for 10, 12 years that go on there and suck ass. I figured I can't be any worse than those guys. Like, I couldn't. I know I'm funny enough to get by in life, I can make a group of people laugh when I'm in a crowd or something. But I felt like I could do it. I felt like I could get up there and do it. I just didn't know if I was going to physically be able to get the words out.
Yeah.
And luckily I did. I stumbled on my very last joke because I just, the cat meowing threw me off. And it fucked me. Like, when I heard the cat, I started panicking like I was going to get the bear. And so I just stumbled on my last joke.
Right. Before we, go any further and talk about like your second time in Kill Tony and the difference and everything, before we started the show, you mentioned that the only other podcast or the first podcast that you had done since Kill Tony did not go as well as Kill Tony. It did not go as well as this is probably going to go tonight. What was that about? What happened there?
So I think it was after my second time on Kill Tony. This guy hit me up. He's a real nice guy, and he has like a podcast mostly based on like heavy metal music. But he's a big Kill Tony fan, so he hit me up, asked me to come on, and I hadn't done any other podcasts, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out. And it was kind of like this, but there was like 6 or 7 people in it. It was a big group.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was drinking whiskey and just going through this, and he was like, we're doing a show in Arlington on such and such date. You should come and open for our closing band. Open, do 5 minutes for this band. I was like, at a heavy metal show? That sounds terrible. Like, they're not there to listen to comedy, But I was just drunk enough that I agreed to it. And this would have been my 6th or 7th time on stage. I go do it in front of a heavy metal crowd. And it worked. Oddly enough, it worked. I got laughs. Like,
wow.
I'd say there was 350 people there, and the front half of the audience were paying attention. The back half was not. But the ones that paid attention laughed, and I did a lot of the jokes I've done on like my third Kill Tony and so forth. But the podcast experience itself was strange and led me down a weird path. So
yeah, I mean, you said it was 6 or 7 guys. Like, you can't have any good podcast that's 6 or 7 dudes talking to each other.
They had bands. So there was like a whole band on the screen, and they were all just sitting around talking. So it was a little weird. I didn't know where I fit into that group of people. I'm an old man. I don't listen to heavy metal music. They just liked me because I was funny, I guess, and it kind of worked out.
So you're basically playing like catch up on the whole comedian experience, because that was like everyone else's experience during COVID was doing like this is what that was born out of. I mean, we were born during COVID because we had, nothing else to do. We couldn't go anywhere. So we started a Zoom podcast. But that's like what everyone was doing was horrible Zoom podcast interviews, Zoom open mics. Like, I'm sure that there are a few people that'll point to this podcast and be like, let me tell you about this time I was on the worst podcast I've ever been on.
Uh, COVID didn't affect me very much. Like, I'm in Texas, so we didn't give a
Right.
fuck. We just lived life. I went to work every day. I didn't miss a single day, I don't think, during COVID. And I lost both my grandparents during COVID. So
That's fucking crazy.
yeah.
You didn't like use that as an excuse to not go to work?
No, I mean, I think it just kind of worked out. Like my grandpa's funeral was on my day off that I already had, so it didn't matter. And then I didn't go to my grandma's funeral. I didn't like her, so
Wow.
Dude,
yeah.
we were just talking about how like we were talking about like ways to get out of work. You had two perfect fucking opportunities to get like 6 days off of work for losing
So
a direct relative, and we're just like, I'll go on my day off.
yeah, I don't take very many days off of work except like my scheduled days. I live on my paycheck. You take days off, you don't get paid usually.
Yeah.
And but my boss is pretty cool as far as like all I got to do is call him, tell him I'm not going. He doesn't care. Like he'll work around it.
Yeah.
He wants to make me happy. So
What do you do for work if you don't mind me asking?
I'm an alignment technician and I manage a small lift kit shop. Well, I say a small shop. It's one of the biggest shops in Texas. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of Texas Tires. They uh
No.
they just jack up trucks, put big wheels and tires on them and stuff. I started there like 9 years ago doing tires, and I've been there, just kind of working my way up through the company. There's about 60 stores now, I think.
So you're like a real life guy from that Shane Gillis sitcom.
Yeah, actually, yeah. When I saw his original of that pilot that was on YouTube, I was like, this
Yeah.
motherfucker tapped into my life. Like that's exactly what it was like, was just sitting out there talking bullshit. And now the show is a little bit more unrealistic to really doing
Yeah.
tires and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty accurate. That's how it is.
That's probably why you're so good at comedy. Cause like, I mean, you're just talking shit all the time and you're just fucking, you got to know how to bust balls and be funny when you're working in a mechanic shop.
So I feel like a lot of my comedic timing or whatever came from high school. I was a bully. Unfortunately, I was a
Okay.
bully. I was a bully. I was a dickhead. And I also had a low self-esteem. So I wanted to have people like me. So I would crack jokes during class. I would, pick on somebody and be funny about it to get the attention I was desiring. And I think that's where it all stemmed from. And then, of course, they say, was it trauma makes you fun? I got
Yeah.
a life of trauma as well. So that might have something to do with it.
Yeah. So how many times, how far away from Austin do you live?
It takes me about 3.5 hours to get there. Well, 4.5 hours when my wife goes with me because of all the bathroom breaks.
Yeah. So how many times
man.
did you go to Kill Tony before you got picked? Or was that the first time you had ever gone?
Now that was the second time. So I went the January before that for my birthday. I went to Austin. That was my first time to even go to Austin ever. And I got tickets to the Vulcan, and I had my original set that I was going to do that I'm glad I've never done. I've never done any of the jokes off of that original set because I've now can look back and say that they're terrible. But so I bought tickets, and if y'all have ever attempted to buy tickets to Kill Tony, it's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I got tickets to that show, and then got there, and then they misbooked like the seating, and so we got screwed, and we didn't actually have seats. We just had to stand in the balcony, but not even able to see the show.
Ugh,
It really sucked.
that sucked.
I still watched it on a TV screen. But so we're up there, and that was the first time I met David Lucas. I met him up there and talked to him because he was coming to Fort Worth like a couple days later, and I was going to a show. And then we ended up getting to go to the rooftop like after party. because of that meeting and hung out upstairs, and Tony and Uncle A's, all them people were there. It was a really cool experience, but I didn't get pulled. So the second time we go, and she signed up both times for me. My wife did. Like, it was 100% a plan to get me on stage. And she tried really hard. She did her best. Like, she thought that what she was saying was funny because she said it to people in her same line of business and they thought it was funny. And, you know, I don't know. I forgot what you asked me.
I was just asking if that was if how many times you had been there before you got pulled.
Second time. So, and she got pulled. I never got pulled.
Right. Yeah. And I think people forget that too. Like, you've never been pulled out of the bucket, and you've been on Kill Tony 3 times, 4 times?
3 times. 3.
Yeah. 3 times, no bucket pull, invited back. You got brought on stage because your wife bombs, which we've seen like a bunch,
100 times. Yeah.
Yeah, people will, like, oh, well, I sucked, but my best friend's going to get up here and kill it. And then they fucking don't. They're just as bad. This time, it fucking, like, the stars align and everything pays off.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tony almost expected that to happen. Like, I was going to get up there and bomb as well, and then he'd have 2 people to make fun of. So when it didn't happen that way, and it was such a long show, a long episode, like, there's 45 minutes of it that's cut out from that night because it was just a crazy Ric Flair episode.
Oh shit! It was the Ric Flair episode.
It was, yeah. That was my first one. So I had Shane Gillis, Ari Shaffir, all of them there. It was badass. But it was midnight at that point. Like, it was so long into the show. And I think that's why he invited me back, because he wanted to see if I was funny or just got lucky.
Yeah.
So when I go back, he did give us the VIP treatment. Like, we got to go to the green room, hang out on the balcony. It was cool. And it was the Duncan Trussell episode with Little Hobo, which is internet hated, but it was fun in the moment. And that one just also went well. I don't know. It was like my 4th time on stage too.
It just clicked. And so were you at the bar next door, or were you inside for the Ric Flair episode?
So the Ric Flair episode, I was inside. I had seats. I bought tickets to that one.
What the fuck happened?
I mean, Ric Flair was drunk. Like, so right off the bat, he started talking about fucking Chinese ladies and how he likes to have sex with Asian women.
Tight.
Sideways pussies. Just, as racist and sexist as you could get, he did that. And then, so Mark Norman, that's where his stuff came from. Hey, have you ever had Asian pussy? It was from that. And then at one point he talked about how much he could come. He could come so much that he could shampoo a buffalo. Like, he would just lather a buffalo with his semen.
Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. It's fucking tight.
And then I think in my wife's set, there was a part where she's like, well, maybe, he said, I'd be rich if he died on top of me. Because he had talked about somebody in the audience saying, like, I'll fuck you, and if I die on top of you, you can have half my money or something. So he was just going off the rails. He was just progressively getting more drunk.
Yeah.
So and he also disclosed where Tony lived.
Oh,
and how much Tony paid for his penthouse and stuff like that, and they edited all that out.
Wow.
So.
Dude. So he does all that shit. He accidentally doxes Tony Hinchcliffe. Like, he's playing the game how it should be played as far as, like, being completely out of pocket. And then they make jokes about him and he fucking walks off.
Yeah, and it wasn't even the jokes about him, I don't think, that made him walk off. It was I don't even know really what made him walk off. I just think
it was his dead son. I didn't want to say it. It was his dead son.
Yeah, there were some jokes in there. I don't remember if it was in the actual episode or not, but there was he had pointed Rick. I lost his name. Rick Diaz.
Yeah.
That was his second time on. That episode was his second or third time on, and he had talked about how he had made no money yet.
Yeah.
Like Tony hasn't paid him for any gigs. And Ric Flair went into this long explanation about how Tony owes him all this money and hasn't paid him. And
What the
yeah,
fuck, dude?
I don't know. I don't even know if any of it was true, but it was just what he was doing. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, what's funny to me is that like you get this context, and if no one knows this yet, I mean there is like people on Reddit that were there for the episode that have like said a lot of the same things that you're saying. But they were supposed to do a podcast together, Ric Flair and Tony Hinchcliffe.
Very next day, I was going to go to it. They were going to do it at the mothership.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, they see that episode and they're like, oh, well, obviously Ric Flair's the reason they're not doing that podcast anymore because he doesn't want to do it with Tony. But I think that maybe Tony Hinchcliffe probably cut off Ric Flair if he's doxing him and saying he owes him money.
Yeah, no, he probably did cut him off and just cancel on it. But I was going to go to the filming or the taping of it the next day.
Speaking of which, is it weird for you to see Tony Hinchcliffe potentially sway an election?
I thought it was funny. I agree that the world kind of took that out of context, and I understood what he was saying in the joke. I feel like there were other jokes in there that they could have used that were more racist than the Puerto Rican joke. The watermelon carving joke was a pretty racist joke. Like,
is out of pocket. Yeah.
But it's kind of a weird place for Tony Hinchcliffe to be doing that kind of comedy, isn't it? I mean,
like he almost blew it, dude. But before like election night, everyone was like, "Fuck, dude, Tony Hinchcliffe might have blown this entire election."
Would have been funny, kind of like. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would have wanted to go through 4 years of Harris just to see what would have happened to Tony Hinchcliffe, but it would have been kind of funny to be able to blame him.
I think he takes credit for either way it would have went the election.
Yeah. I mean, he said as much, but I mean, honestly, like that. I mean, that might have been like that might have drove more listeners to Kill Tony, but it also could have been like the end of Kill Tony if he just completely fumbles a United States election for president.
I don't think so. Tony has, because it's his show. You know what I mean? He's not depending on a specific platform necessarily, besides YouTube. Spotify pays him, YouTube, whatever he makes on there, but it might have blown his Netflix deal, whatever he's got going on with them.
Right. Which, he is on again, off again, blown by various things. Like he said after Madison Square Garden or something like that them booing Netflix potentially cost him a Netflix deal.
The Netflix thing, I don't know if Kill Tony moved to Netflix, it might lose some of its charm, I feel like.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the same for sure, which it's already not. I mean, to a degree, just being because it feels like it's always been a bigger thing since it's moved to Austin, and especially since it's been in the mothership. But now when it's doing fucking arenas, it's literally the pro wrestling of stand-up comedy. It literally is. And you're one of the people in the stable of this fucking giant thing. Like, has there been is there any talk of you coming back? Have you been invited back? Are you going to try to get in the bucket?
I have not been invited back. The last time I was on, he kind of said, maybe we'll do it again sometime. So he just left it open.
Yeah.
I have gone back though to Austin a few times, and while I was there, signed up and didn't get pulled, but hung out with a bunch of people. I've met a bunch of comedians throughout all this. I've been doing comedy ever since the first time. Yeah. Pretty steadily, it's become a very fun thing for me to do. I mean, I enjoy it a lot.
Do you think it's a little easier for you to, sort of get spots when you're going somewhere because of the Kill Tony? Or do you think it's maybe a little more difficult too, because you have, all these people hitting you up like, hey, come do this fucking show.
I don't have people hitting me up like that.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I do not get a lot of just like random hit ups. I've got like, uh, so maybe it was my first one on. After my first one or second one, I don't know. A guy in Dallas hit me up, and he is a former bucket pool, 2-time bucket pool. His name's Noah Shark Robertson. If y'all been watching the show for a long time, you may remember him.
Yeah.
He went on in LA and then he went on at the Vulcan. Both times he did the Mexican drum off. And so he's got his own thing going on in Dallas, and he invited me to a comedy contest. So I went and did that, and I won it. And with winning the contest, you win like a spot in a showcase. And so I went and did his showcase too. And that all went well. And then I went back for another contest at his place and won that one. I won 2 contests at his comedy club. And then I've done most of my spots at his place because I like it a lot. I like his place. I like just all of it over there is better to me. I don't hit as many open mics as I should because I've already had 2 jokes stolen, and watched them do my joke to me,
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of the open mic scene.
Do you have to kind of take like the tire shop out of the guy when you see someone do your joke and not beat the shit out of them?
I mean, I'm too old to do all that, man. I got a pinched nerve right now. I can barely lift like my dick, much less swing a fist. So
it's a crazy statement. That's heavy dick, heavy dick energy.
Not even that heavy. That's how bad the pinched nerve is. Like it's just.
It's like a 0.25 pounds. I just can't fucking move.
Wasn't Heavy Dick a rapper back in the 90s?
That's Heavy D, dude. You're so white.
I think that stands for the same thing.
Yeah,
exactly. It might be Heavy Dick. It very well fucking might be, dude. Well, at least you're getting, somewhat steady spots. But it's crazy as much as Kill Tony's blown up. Like you would, because I know people who are literally just bucket pulls who get hit up after their episode drops to go do a ton of shit. And then like you're actually kind of maybe the most instant natural, like great, like I'm not gonna say great, very good comedian that we've seen do your first time. And then it's like, why aren't people hitting you up? I don't understand.
I don't know either. I mean, I've had a few people hit me up and I've done a few things. And when I go to comedy shows and stuff, people recognize me and we'll bring up some stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about the game of comedy as far as like, do I go out and ask people? Do I hit people up on message? Like, I don't know. I'm just going with the flow of things.
Yeah.
But I hit up a bunch of people this last month, and I'm actually putting on a show on Friday.
Awesome.
At Sharks Comedy Club in Dallas, and it's all bucket pools. So I've got, and they're all bucket pools who have done well on Kill Tony, because there's a big difference between just being a bucket pool and doing well on Kill Tony.
Mm-hmm.
So Cody Swindell, I don't know if y'all remember him. He's been on a couple times.
Yeah.
Trey Campbell, he's going to come down to Dallas.
He's been on the show. Love
him. It's going to be me. I'm going to host it. It'll be my first time hosting, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Noah. I had Carlos Lopez. He was going to come do it, but we had to do a date change, so we lost Carlos. Q Rose is another one who's been on Kill Tony who's done well. And then I'm telling you, Tony, Brandon Michael. He was on a couple weeks ago. Y'all remember him?
Oh, that guy.
So I've been doing spots with him for like the last year at different places around here. And he's funny. He's got a good solid 15, 20 minutes. He's a funny guy. He stumbled on Kill Tony. Like he told me he couldn't breathe when he got out there and stuff, but he is funny. So he's going to be on the show. And then Jacob Cantor, who has been on 3 times as well and killed every time. And he's the same way. Like nobody's hitting him up. I feel like to get that little push that you're talking about, you just have to be like an extra level of memorable, like the Fiona girl. You're not going to forget her, the redhead in the wheelchair.
Yeah, she's hot and easy to catch, dude.
Yeah, so she's getting all kinds of Kill Tony bump, shows.
Dude.
So
someone's like, send me your location right now. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I think that's really what's missing, in the power vacuum of Kill Tony is, once you're gone, you might not ever get back there. Maybe you're really funny, and then it's kind of like, what do you fucking do from there? You just got to go back to hitting people up and trying to get spots. So I think that's an amazing concept show, honestly.
Yeah, it really is.
Not to call too much attention to myself, but can I tell you guys what happened to me directly before we started shooting this podcast?
Sure.
So eagle-eyed viewers may be able to tell that I'm sneaking chicken McNuggets in my mouth every time I think I don't have to talk about something. Well, Lily, my fiance, she accidentally bought 80 chicken McNuggets before
wait a minute.
we started podcasting.
How do you accidentally buy 80 chicken McNuggets?
I don't know.
It sounds like what he did was he told his fiance to, hey, go buy me 80 nuggets.
That's what it sounds like to me too.
I'll say it was an accident.
So what happened supposedly was, she asked for 2 20-piece nugget large combos. And what they gave her was 80 chicken McNuggets and like barely any fries in one large fry box. And she was so confused that she just brought home 80 chicken nuggets and she could only eat 20. So now I'm housing 60 chicken nuggets by myself.
That's easy.
That's a stroke waiting to happen. Actually, did she go to that the McDonald's that we had the
No, dude, it's on the whole other side of Gulfport.
Okay. Maybe it's Gulfport McDonald's. Just stop going to McDonald's in Gulfport.
Then how else will I get 80 chicken McNuggets?
I don't think you're supposed to eat 6. Well, how many did she eat? How many are you eating? 60?
Yeah. It's 60-20 split. It's fair.
If you shit your pants tomorrow, you know why.
I'm going to shit my pants tomorrow, dude. I'm going to shit my pants. Justin, I don't know how much of our podcast you watched. You said you watched a couple episodes, but this is a topic of discussion that we get into anytime we have a guest. When was the last time that you shit your pants as a grown man?
I guess that depends on what you constitute shitting your pants.
I would like you to tell me.
Well, I mean, there's literally shitting your pants, and then there's shitting but maybe not wiping good enough and having shit in your pants.
Okay.
So if it's the latter, often.
All right. So we found a loophole here. We did find a loophole. So what I would say is that anything that can be constituted as not your own fucking fault would be considered shitting your pants.
Oh, never then. I've never shit my pants.
That's crazy, dude, because you just admitted that you have shit in your pants, but you're not actively doing it.
I mean, I've had shit on my fingers too, but it's not like I scooped it, Like it happens. Shit happens, literally.
Yeah. What's the move there when you get shit on your fingers?
Usually wash your hands.
Okay. I don't know what I expected.
After a sniff test. I mean,
yeah.
You got to give it the.
Is it shit or is it something else? You got to tell.
Yeah, you got to make sure.
Yeah, you got to
like you catch a whiff of something and you're like, that's my go-to is I do like the finger fan.
You do. That's the only way that a guy can do jazz hands and it's not gay.
I mean, it's usually gay because I usually do it after touching my balls. So because I'm checking the balls.
Yeah, you got to check the balls for shit.
Right.
You can't have shit balls. You already have shit in your underwear, dude. That's crazy. This is the craziest answer we've ever gotten to this question. You have shit in your underwear. That is your fault, but you're not shitting your pants ever.
Right. Yeah, that's how it happens. I'm not saying it actually happens. I'm just saying like that's a potential. I mean, it might have happened. It might have happened.
I don't think getting a streak is constitutes shitting your pants.
Neither do I. Yeah.
So now
That's essentially what I'm saying.
Jason's just doing a whole fucking 180 because I'm camp shit your pants all day. I think it's perfectly fucking fine. It just happens sometimes. Jason's like, no, people should never shit their pants, even when they're fucking ill and they can't hold it in anymore. But now Jason has fucking racing stripes all over his fucking tarmac, dude.
I mean, I don't know if I have the streaks because I wear boxers, so you don't really streak up boxers.
Oh, yes, you do, you fucking liar. Justin, what were you going to say? I don't want to talk to this guy no more.
You said you have a fiance?
Yeah.
Does she peg you?
No.
Oh, well, that could be the cause of the shitting of the pants so often, like just loose butthole.
No, it's a mystery. I mean, my butthole probably is loose from the massive dumps that I take, but like not, unnaturally, not because of any like nefarious butt play or anything. Like I've never had anything up there, not even a finger. I'm
well, then you're missing out. I don't know. Yeah, you're missing out.
I might be missing out a little bit. Yeah. Maybe I should test the waters since I'm shitting my pants anyways.
I know what Jacob's doing tonight. So.
Not on a night where you've eaten 60 fucking nuggets.
No,
you should try it out sometime. Yeah.
Listen, no one has to know that I ate 60 chicken nuggets, except for us here. Right. It doesn't have to be public knowledge. This will go out to the public, but it doesn't doesn't have to be public knowledge. We can strike this from the record right now.
Nope, it's staying in. And on that note, we start wrapping this thing up.
Yeah, we can wrap it up. Put a bow on it.
Put a butt on it.
Yeah, I did put a butt on it, dude. I've got butt on my fucking brain. Justin, dude, thank you so much for coming and doing this, man. It was great talking to you. Like I said, I mean, this is everything I expected. You're just a very unconventional guy and a very unconventional way to get into comedy. And I'm fucking here for it, man. Is there anything that you want the people at home to know before we get out of here?
Oh, that's a weird one. Like know about what? Like me? The aliens?
Like promote yourself. Just like what you got going on, man. I forget that you haven't done shit like this before.
Right now I've just got the one show coming up in a couple days. That's like on Friday of this week. So it's kind of hard to promote that on a podcast.
What about social media? Where do you want people to follow you at?
On Instagram, it's Justin Headrick 83.
Okay.
That's it. And I think that's probably one of the things you were asking earlier about how people don't hit me up. A lot of people don't know how to spell my name.
It's Headrick.
It's Head and then Rick. A lot of people just spell head wrong. And it's like Heed, H-E-D.
Hey.
I feel like that's been an issue my whole life.
Wait.
Yeah, it's either missing the A, or if a black person does it, it's got an S at the end.
Hendricks. So, that is Hendricks, a thing. Yeah. That's a recurring thing. That's not just you. That's them.
All of my baseball trophies when I was a kid had a fucking S on the end. Like I was on the same team for years, and they misspelled it every year.
Wow.
So.
Hendricks.
Yeah.
That's
or an X. Funny. Sometimes I get the X, or I get confused with Jimi Hendrix. Like it's just crazy.
All right, so Justin Headrick, fucking Head and Rick. I don't understand how anyone cannot spell it. 83 over on Instagram. Go give him a follow.
I got that link in the show notes now. Put it in there.
And then for you guys, man, if y'all are interested, that show on Friday is going to be live streamed.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Swimmingwithsharks.com, I believe, is the website. And you'll see all those bucket pools go up and do a full set and kind of get a glimpse of what their comedy life is like outside of the bucket, see what they're capable of.
Does it have is it going to have a home there after the live stream? Like, is there going to be a video to watch after?
Yeah, he's got a whole, I think he's got a YouTube page too with all his videos on it. And matter of fact, you can go on there and watch one of the contests I won on his YouTube. But yeah, I think so.
Awesome.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe even Facebook. I don't know where he puts it all, man. I just found out he was going to live stream it, so I'm only going to do 5 minutes on that show, and because I'm hosting.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to do a full like 15 minutes and host.
Yeah.
Good. You have good instincts.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you're a fucking natural.
I told him I'll do 5, and then like whatever I can come up with, little short jokes in between each comedian or something as I'm introducing them.
That's the way to do it.
But,
yeah.
For sure. That link will be in the show notes as well.
Yeah, I'll put that in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, before we get out of here, Jacob, tell everybody where we're going to be at.
Yeah, man. Any local listeners, November 23rd, we are going to be at Cedar Street Social over in Mobile, Alabama. Fucking stacked lineup, dude. Our buddy Josh Watts is headlining it. Me and Jay are going to be on there. Zeke Buckholtz, Carson Taylor. What fucking more could you ask for, dude? Tickets are available right now. So yeah, go over and check us out at Cedar Street Social. Pull up on us.
Hell yeah. Well, that's going to do it for us. Justin, thank you for hanging out with us tonight, man. It was great talking to you, and good luck in the future with everything you're going to be doing. Because you got some interesting times ahead of you, and you're kind of doing everything backwards. So I'm kind of jealous.
That's what I've been told.
But we're going to get out of here. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you want to email us at OpenMicersPodcast@gmail.com. OpenMicers.com is our website. And, of course, Linktr.ee/OpenMicersPodcast takes you everywhere you need to go. All the socials, all the ways to give us money, all the Patreon, all that good stuff. And also, go to BResCoffeeCo.com and use the code OMPodcast for 10% off of your order. We love all of you, and we'll see you all here next week.
Only got 30 chicken nuggets to go.